Welcome to the PortlyAI Squad Talk. This is a show where we engage in conversation about the changing business landscape and how human capital and other C-suite leaders are approaching this. I'm Susan Ganz and I'm your host. I'm a business advisor with PortlyAI and as well as a chief of staff and business strategist with my own firm, Ganz Strategic Solutions. Today, we are traveling halfway around the world to speak with Shiran Danoch. A bit about Shiran. She is a serial entrepreneur and a leading authority in talent assessment and people analytics with a mission to transform how organizations make people decisions. She has a PhD in people analytics and a background in industrial and organizational psychology. She has pioneered scientific approaches to talent selection and development. She has founded two HR tech startups, including Informed Decisions, which she runs now, that leverages AI to track and mitigate interview bias, ensuring more equitable hiring practices. Previously, Sharon managed a consulting company specializing in skills based hiring tools and processes and served as co founder and chief product officer at Empirical, where she developed AI based pre hire assessments. She has shared her expertise on a number of podcasts, webinars, and conferences, inspiring audiences to embrace data driven fair talent strategies. And she has consulted for well known organizations such as the Israeli Prime Minister's Office, Nike, and Kuhn and Nagel. She's a member of the Forbes Human Resources Council and a contributor to the leading talent media outlets. She is passionate about building systems that enable equitable workplaces and empower organizations to make smarter, more impactful people decisions. Welcome to Squad Talk, Sharon.
Thanks for having me, Susan. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. So let's get into the conversation. So please share with our audience a brief background of your industry and the changes that you've seen along the way.
Sure. I'm in talent assessment. That's where I've been my entire career. And that means that I'm at the intersection of technology. My companies, the companies that I've founded are HR tech companies. But the professionals that I work with are mainly HR professionals, so chief HR officers and heads of talent acquisition and heads of talent development. I think what I've seen in the past years, let's say since COVID, and that's relevant to the entire workforce and not specifically to HR or talent assessment, it's just a huge amount of changes. So starting from COVID that led to remote work, but also to a significant downsizing in just headcount at companies. Then to post-COVID, where we went to hybrid, and then companies also hired and sometimes overhired. Then came the tech bubble burst, where companies that raised millions of dollars on presentation, they lost their funding, and then to invest. So many companies just fired a lot of people and started getting more efficient in their operations. And of course, what we're seeing in the past 2 3 years with AI exploding, that leads to a lot of the different predictions. Some of them that it will create more workplaces and more positions, other that it will completely eliminate jobs and people won't have jobs. So a lot of kind of very extreme predictions. But all of these changes in terms of the intersection where I operate, first, gradually lead to organizations hiring less. Generally speaking, organizations are hiring less and focusing on hiring for the right skills, because now each hire has more impact, it has more meaning, and losing it has a higher price for the company. So hiring for the right skills, but also how do we better utilize our current workforce? And that means how do we understand what are the current skills, what are the future skills that we need, and how do we bridge that gap? So that, of course, requires first evaluating the existing skills that you have, and then how do you build upskilling programs for that. But there is a term I've heard kind of hanging around in the past couple of years, which is talent density, which basically means the level of skill per your workforce, and basically organizations are aiming for a more skill density or more talent density within their workforce. And now when AI comes into play, it also changes the skills. So I think we all know how much emphasis has been put throughout the years on technical skills in interviewing process, but also in training and upskilling. And this is changing because with AI and the ability to first acquire knowledge so quickly, and also AI doing the technical tasks that we used to do, even developers, um, suddenly the shift changes to the human skills side. And the most important skills of the future, if you look at the World Economic Forum, they've released in 2025 their future of jobs report. So they've talked about the top skills for 2030, and like the top 10, I think 7 or 8 out of these are human skills, like creativity and critical thinking, um, and empathy or emotional intelligence. So that kind of amplifies what makes us really unique as people, and that AI cannot currently replace, which is like the human skills. So also what I see is transition or more emphasis both in hiring and upskilling and talent development on those aspects of human skills, and also assessing AI literacy, because I think it's becoming more clearer and clearer to organizations that the people that they hire, they will have to work side by side with AI. They will have to monitor AI. They will have to orchestrate multiple AI agents. So the AI literacy is becoming more and more critical to jobs. So also, how do we assess and upskill for that?
Absolutely. I want to comment on something that you had talked about with respect to talent density. So, IBM is one company that's kind of leading that charge in terms of measuring their workforce on what skill sets they've gained. That's part of their performance review and the expectation for each of their employees. So,
So,
absolutely uh,
absolutely.
agree with you there. And then the importance of those human skills, I think, cannot be underestimated. Right? And how that kind of emotional intelligence that you had referenced is so important in promoting different initiatives and getting the best out of AI and doing that thinking, as well as I imagine the ethics that also might come into play in evaluating some of the output of different tools. Fantastic.
100%.
So, given all that you've laid out and a couple of different paradoxes that you've also surfaced, how do you see the HR function in the workforce transforming in this age of AI?
So I feel that for years we've been talking about HR as a strategic business partner. We have the HR BP function, and like this is where we aim to be. We want to have a seat at the table, and we want to make a true impact on the business. But from what I see in reality, there is a definition of the role or the vision, and there is what HR people do on the day to day. And in many companies, it's still a lot of operations and admin. And with the pace of changes, it's becoming even more and more hectic. Like there are more and more things to manage. And I see a lot of HR people just being kind of buried with all of these tasks. So I think with what's happening now with AI, here comes a true opportunity, a real opportunity for HR to change their positioning. Because what AI enables is to really, really reduce the admin and operational overload for HR. But that, of course, requires the ability to use it, to not be afraid of it. Um, because we know that AI also poses existential threat on not just HR functions, but on all different types of functions. But with HR, we know that, for example, talent acquisition teams um, have been reduced, and also other functions. So I think some HR professionals are kind of naturally reluctant, or kind of maybe they don't want to embed it because someday it might replace me. But I think that those HR professionals that will thrive in our world are the ones that will know how to leverage AI to their benefit. And that means getting them unstuck, getting them released from the huge amount of admin tasks, repetitive tasks, procedures, repetitive questions that they need to answer. Like there is so much today that can be automated and streamlined with AI, and then kind of really vacate the time to think more strategically, to have more meaningful interactions with the business. So I think at the age that we're getting to, there there isn't an excuse anymore, and not to be strategic. You have to you have to acquire the AI fluency, and you have to harness AI to your benefit in order to enhance your position. So, in terms of the HR function, I think it's a huge opportunity for those professionals that will know how to leverage it. In terms of the workforce, so I'm not as definitive as the kind of extreme prediction, like there are all different types of people giving those extreme predictions that I've talked about earlier. I really don't know. I don't know where it will go. I think the world is so dynamic, and like I'm not pretentious to say I know where this will go. I just think that also when you look at your workforce, uh, for sure there are better ways to utilize it now with AI. Like with the same headcount, you can achieve so much more. So I think that's how organizations should approach it, not just in terms of, okay, we can save money by just removing headcount, but how can we increase our impact, our revenue by better utilizing our workforce with AI. It might mean opening up to new markets, increasing scopes and volumes of work. Like it can say a lot of different things for different types of organizations, but I think there is definitely a, an an opportunity there, and but I also want to kind of uh, like I'm thinking about it like in a conservative way or kind of trying to be modest with what I don't know. I also think that companies shouldn't rush to to everything AI because like there is also an alarming statistic from an MIT research that was conducted I think earlier this year about and like there was an alarming number of AI initiatives that just fail. And I think that is because a lot of companies run into AI. They say we have to get in the game, but without really understanding the implications or what an effective implementation means, or what happens if we're now replacing our like half of our workforce with AI and AI doesn't succeed. We saw a lot of cases that were in the press about companies firing people, like their entire customer success team, but then like
Rehiring.
reinstalling it.
Yes.
Yes. So I think like this also needs to be managed properly. And one of the key things, which is also a huge opportunity for HR, is that this is not just another tech tool implementation, it's a full-blown organizational transformation. And HR needs to be on the lead, of course, hand in hand with the business that should be accountable for this. But there is a huge opportunity here not to lag behind, but actually to lead this from a change management perspective, this transformation in organizations.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think HR is well poised because of where they do sit in the organization and they have information about the talent. And when they embrace what's the overarching strategy and who they can go to with their colleagues, they're the perfect orchestra conductor to make it happen. So, and to your point about the importance of companies thinking through the implementation, which often gets glossed over, AI implementation or not, having been through many technology implementations. I was just listening to another podcast this morning where the guest talked about the importance and that companies are just not thinking through that. So I'm glad that you have made the point here that that's an important consideration. As
Yeah,
we
for sure.
move,
It's a make or break.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, as we're moving to this more project-based economy and skills-based workforce, what does that mean for you as a leader and even with your own organization and the organizations you work with? What are you doing to keep up with these changing business dynamics, and of which you also said, listen, I don't know the future. Many experts have said, I don't know the future. I don't either. So would love your perspective here.
Yeah, I actually like believe that this is an amazing point in time for me as a professional and for my organization informed decisions because I've been doing skills-based hiring before it was even a name or a trend. Like that's just nobody kind of invented the wheel here. This is been a scientifically proven method for over 120 years of selection and assessment research that we have. But it got branded in the past, I don't know, decade as skills-based hiring. But basically, what does that mean? That means that the human capability within the context of work is broken down to its components. And in order to have a comprehensive and an in-depth evaluation of a person's capability, you need to really break it down into those key components, uh, um, we are made of genes, or there is a material is made out of atoms, right? Every structure has its core components, and for work these are skills. So when you assess something that is more focused, and more measurable and more observable, then your hiring gets more accurate. Like, that's just what science has shown repeatedly. And now, when this comes awareness, I still think that there is a gap between saying I'm doing skills-based hiring to actually doing skills-based hiring. Even when we aim to hire for skills, still, we are very impressed by proxies. For example, when we look at CVs, right? Oh, this person went to Harvard. Look, they worked for Google. And like the credentials part, or if we have a candidate that has 3 years of experience versus 5 or 7, like, we will lean into the more experienced, even though experience does not equal skill. So we're still very heavy on relying on proxies when we make decisions, even in the interview setting, where this is our focus at informed decisions. What we see is that even in highly structured interviews, the skill that affects the interviewer's overall impression from the candidate is effective communication. Basically, the ability to tell a compelling story and to interview well. So again, like, we kind of generalize from it. If they're so eloquent, then they're probably also like super intelligent and a hard worker and a critical thinker, but that's not necessarily true, right? So I think that's why I feel like we're perfectly positioned to lead this revolution in actually taking companies and building a skills-based infrastructure for talent assessment, even if it's in hiring, but also in actual for actual employees to evaluate their skill level and analyze their upskilling needs. So I think just the fact that people are now gaining like switching careers at a high pace, and skill economy in which, like, you don't necessarily acquire skills through a academy or even courses. I think all of that amplifies the need to actually assess assess skills and how they're manifested in the world of work. But that's only one component of it, because also skills are not static. Like, the skills that organizations looked for 2 years ago are not the skills that they're looking for now. Like, with the huge amount of change, also the skill requirements are consistently changing. So I think for me, it's also how do we create a closed feedback loop that understands how the world changes, that understands how do we as an organization need to change our practices in order to adapt. What are those skills that we should be hiring for? Out of the skills we need, do we actually need to assess for all of these? Are all of these skills are actually connected to success? And that's an ingrained part of our platform. So with our platform, you don't just assess the candidates, but we also track the performance and retention of those candidates that are hired. So we're creating that exact closed feedback loop that and are able to tell organizations, these are the skills that you're assessing that actually predict success. These are not predictive of success, so we can remove them from the process or reduce their weight and adapt the hiring process to what works and what doesn't, but also to just the intelligence that we're getting from all of our clients around what are the relevant skills for today, for tomorrow. So for me, it's a very, very exciting time to live in, to work in, and to lead informed decisions.
Yes. And I love what you're doing. I like the fact that you call it a skills-based uh infrastructure revolution, that experience doesn't equate to skills that one has gained in different settings. I think it does cause companies to now take a step back and think through what their organizations are going to look like and how to be fluid with their organizations, given what you said regarding um, how business changes and different um, skills are needed, and quite frankly, new roles are coming up. And and so organizations need to be nimble enough to change with those times. So given
Exactly.
the fact that we're going through a very transitionary time, and that comes with challenges itself, what do you do personally to take care of yourself and ground yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would honestly say that if you would ask me that, like, I don't know, even 3 years ago, I would tell you absolutely nothing. I just work and work. And after I work, I go to my second job, which is being a mother. So, like, I was just like working nonstop and, just grinding. And I think, also as an entrepreneur, like that's what you're expected to do, and that's kind of the hustle culture. So I fully align with that, and I said that's what I need to do at this stage of my life. I have a business to lead, and I have kids to raise, and okay, so like I won't sleep that much. I won't eat as healthy, but that backfired on me big time and I got to points where like I was so worn out, so cognitively deluded that it was just so not effective in any way, and that's kind of where I started becoming more aware of the fact that my body and my mind is my machine. So like I need to feed it well in order to be able to do what I'm doing. And since then, so like I did multiple things. So I'm practicing yoga. I'm doing strength training. I'm also trying as much as possible to find time to meet with friends because that is also something that I've neglected for years. And like I saw that in the time when I was deluded and kind of had a hard time, I was missing like my friends. And I said like, okay, that's also a part of being just healthy. So for me, these are the things, and also changed my nutrition. So really trying to being aware of what I eat. Of course, like you can't be 100% all of the time, but just being more aware, eating less junk. And so these are the things that I'm trying to do for myself.
I appreciate you authentically sharing that, you did get to a place where you were so burned out and didn't have that energy and space, and that you've taken now proactive steps in um, exercise and making friends and family be more of a priority and eating well. So thank you for sharing that. And that brings me to a question about what is something in your background that we might be surprised to learn about you, and that's also informed your approach to organizational transformation.
Yeah, so um, I'm not sure how uh, surprising it is. Like I'm like my entire life, I'm kind of an overachiever. Like I get to a goal and I want to go to the next and to the next, and um, that's how I also got.
Oh no, we're having trouble hearing you.
Oh,
Okay, now we can
did
hear you.
it? Okay.
So just
So
repeat the
so so I
answer.
said, sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said just start from the part where you said you're an overachiever.
Oh, okay, sure. So, I've been an overachiever my entire life. So that means, I achieve something, and then I immediately set a higher goal, and that's also kind of got me to where I am, where this is already my second company that I've founded, and now like this time I'm also doing it as a single founder, um, which is very challenging. I think what people are less aware of, because um, usually when I talk to people, they are impressed, by the kind of the runway, like my career path and how things. How did I kind of move through my career? I think what people are less aware of is the number of times that I've failed, and that I can share a few things. So when I started up, I started in a consulting company. Um, at some point, I also managed that. The company was a kind of a small boutique company, so I took over our CEO, but eventually, like I felt that I want to grow from there. I decided to leave. And then, like in our last conversations, she told me, like, you will never find something better than this. This is like you will never find a better place to work at. And I totally believed her. Like I felt very bad by the fact that I'm leaving, and I wasn't sure at all that I'll find something better. But Actually, I did. That's how. Like when I left, I met my co-founder at Empirical, which is the first startup company that I've ever built. And also there, after 5 years of building a business while having like small children, investing my life into it, building a team, building a product, like everything felt like really mine. And like I really put my heart and soul into it. After 5 years, I decided to leave because uh, my co-founder and I had we didn't align on how the future of the company will look like. And that was one of the hardest decisions I have to make in my life. I didn't sleep for weeks and weeks, and I just felt like it's the end of the world. And I felt like a failure because I said, like, you started this and you've put your entire life into this. And here you're failing because you're leaving. And you're not just failing yourself, like you're also failing your team. You're leaving your team behind. You're leaving your clients behind. It was awful. But I did it. And now I'm at a better place. I'm at a better place to actually uh, to create the impact that I want in the world. So, all of this to say that um, like there is a lot of failure uh, that comes with change, positive change and good change, and like change when you look at it retrospectively, you say, "Hey, I did the right thing and it was successful." But at the moment in time, you feel like it's the end of the world. You feel that you're failing, and I think that's an inherent part of changing. So for me, like, how does that uh, impact my approach to change management? First, I now see it as a skill. I feel like the more that I will challenge myself to go through those changes, even when they're super hard for me, like the next time it will become easier. I will know how to better manage my emotions, and I will know how to hold that hope and optimism because I know that it worked out for me in the past. So I think as HR people, also when we're managing a change, not just ours, but also other people, like really be empathetic to the fact that, it's not even if you implement a AI or you're implementing a new technology, it's not technical. Like there are so many emotions involved. There is so much like status quo and how I used to work and how I used to do things. And you used to trust me to do it. And all of a sudden you're trusting technology or a machine. So there is so much emotion and thought and perceptions and habits that go into these things. So I think our human skill, like our unique advantage, is how do we take those into account when we communicate, when we implement, when we kind of go side by side.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing and giving our audience that hope and optimism. And I think you're absolutely right about managing emotions, and emotions are data. And I also made a note here is really it's almost a grieving process that I think people go through um, in these times when you think about, oh, I used to do it this way and now I have to do it that way. There is a loss, somewhat of a loss of control too, of what they used to do to embrace something new. So really appreciate that. So in closing out our time today, what would you like our audience to remember about our conversation?
I think what I want the audience to remember is that this is an amazing time to work in, that you have an amazing opportunities to invent yourself, to upskill yourself, and to scale your impact significantly. And it's really about your approach, your willingness to learn, your willingness sometimes to put aside what you used to do and how you used to do it in order to think more openly and creatively about the possibilities. So I think HR professionals with their unique skill set, with their human skills, are uniquely positioned for success and in order to thrive in this new world of work. But it does require change management, personal change management.
Uh, Absolutely. So, Sharon, I really want to thank you for sharing your time, your insights, your expertise with us. I'd like to
My
call out some of the things that also resonated with me. You know, this notion that you talked about in terms of the this skill density, talent density, I think is very important. I think the remembering the human part, as you've emphasized, in this age of AI, but also the important strategic role of HR leaders and embracing their broader business knowledge and bringing that to the table and coordinating all the different functions and leading the change management. And to your point just now, it's also embracing that personal change management. So I want to make sure that people can find you. So you can find Sharon at her first name, Shiran, at informeddecisions.io. You can follow her also on LinkedIn, her first and last name, Shiran, Shiran, Danoch, her last name, Danoch. You can follow Informed Decisions on LinkedIn, as well as check out her website at informeddecisions.io. So, to learn more about Portly AI and Squad Talk, I invite you to visit portly.ai. And in the squad spirit, keep growing and evolving and leading the way. Thank you so much, Sharon.